Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Avant Novus live stream. My name is Dan, and we're going to be making a realistic fantasy map in just about an hour, a little more, a little less. We'd like to thank our promoters, Outrage, and they have sponsored some of our videos in the past. We'd just like to give them a big shout out. We'd also like to say happy birthday to our production manager, Drew, and would like to thank him for being a part of the Avant Novus team, and hope he's having a great birthday. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to be using Outrage 5 to create a fantasy map. This is going to be a full tutorial. We're going to start by setting up the canvas, showing where tools are, and then we are going to be just drawing a island continent. So let's go ahead and get started right now. Okay, this is my personal settings for Outrage. The background color is a little different because I just set that. That's fine. We just set background color, and you can set it to any color you want. Our current size for this image is, our image size is 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches high. With a pixel count, let's change this to 450 pixels. All right. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our canvas setting. Canvas setting allows us to control the actual canvas that we're going to be working on. The first allows us to put lighting on the canvas. Second is the canvas color. Second little option here. Third is the opacity, followed by the amount of metallic paint on the canvas. I'll give a demonstration for you guys here in a moment. Grain and pattern are right here. Grain size and roughness are here as well. Let's go back to the metallic. When we add metallic color into a canvas preset, it automatically creates a real-time rendering system that shows you a texture of that canvas. And we can select different canvases, different paper, let's say lumpy paper. We can also reduce the grain size to something small, something big, something rough, something smooth. Bunch of other different settings like that. For this today, we will be doing we're going to be going to papers, and we're going to go find paper. We're going to drop the metallic all the way down to 0. We're also going to drop down the opacity down to 0 as well. However, we are going to change the canvas color to dark green. This is going to allow us for another step to keep a consistent layer on the bottom. Let's go ahead and look at navigation really quick. First off, File helps us save, edit, install, export, anything here. Edit allows us to resize painting, crop it, rotate it, transform layer contents. Filters, this is a very important, we'll be getting into this a little bit later. Preferences, shorts, cuts, tools, selection tools, color options, samples, pretty much anything you need. Views, view is kind of interesting. Let's go over this really quick. Right now you're seeing classic mode. Let's go to docking mode. This is the docking mode if you prefer a very clean artboard. You just click stuff and pretty much click stuff and go. For this, I prefer for the demonstrations. This is how I usually work. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to go to classic mode. It lights out just right there too. Just turns off everything like that. But let's go into just our classic mode. This is what you'll get when you open up Outrage. Over on the left bottom side, you have stickers you can add. You have stencils that you can place over images. Just a whole big bunch of things. Settings for your brushes. Get out of there, stencils. Presets for your brushes. These presets are any preset we're going to be using in this tutorial is primarily from Outrage, and it is from their basic designs. Over on this other side, we have our layers. Works like most other drawing programs. You can always dock that. I'm going to close that right now. Tracing. This actually allows us to, if we're tracing an image, we can choose one of our images to trace, and also reference images. Our giant color wheel allows us to pretty much select any color we want, place it on the page. There's a couple of different ways we can do the color selection, but today we're doing this. Next is our art samples. Okay, our art samples allow us to create samples. If, let's say, we like that purple, that's great, and maybe we like a red, just hit add sample. Let's say we don't like either of those, remove sample. And that's pretty much generally what we find on ArtRage. Over here on the bottom left is our tools. We have an oil brush, a watercolor brush, a penknife, a airbrush, ink pen, pencil, roller, marker, gel pencil. We also have custom brushes, which are really fun. Glitter tool, paint tool, eraser. We have a sticker spray, which is really interesting. We also have a pastel spray, and we're going to be using some of those today. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is pick our colors. To do this, we're going to go into our samples. And ArtRage has a bunch of classic samples and also sample packs already installed in it. And we're going to add samples, and we're going to go, we can either load our custom samples from our disk or select from collection. In this case, we have a simple collections, we have basic collections, landscapes, still life, and portraits. Let's say we're going to make a landscape. We just click on one of these and throw it up. Okay, still life, fruits, halftones, fireworks. Okay, let's say I don't like those. I just go ahead and click on this little menu tab and clear samples. Let's go ahead and add some more samples, hitting the menu tab, add samples, select from collection. The ones I want today is I want to go into our landscapes, and I've had some really good success with this desert oasis, and I'm going to add some additional samples. This beach sample is, I use these a lot. So let's go ahead and put those on the side for now. That's a really nice color palette, and let's get to drawing. First thing we're going to do is we are going to create the ocean. To do that, we're going to look at our layers. Our first layer is going to be ocean. Let's go ahead and set that as ocean. Totally spelled it wrong, and I don't care. Okay, we're going to go to our paint bucket, and we now have an ocean. Oh, let's make sure we don't have any metallic paint in that because we want it as flat as possible. The next step here is we're now going to go in and start drawing our basic land shape. This is going to be a continent, a full end continent from top to bottom. We're going to do this, we're going to use our ink pen. So we select our ink pen, and then we're going to go into our presets. Okay, and again, presets are found here. You can open these up, work with them, do anything you want with them. You have a lot of choices. You have like a billboard pen. Let's get a different color there. You have a multiplying pen, ink pen. That one's kind of fun, like that. Well, that ink pen's actually a custom one that I did. I'll show you why that is. Anti-alias. We have a custom river brush. Rounded smooth pen, transparent, smoothing ink, a bunch of other ones, you know, that are really, really fun. Today we are actually going to draw the continents. We're going to start with our anti-aliasing pen, and we're actually going to customize that. So let's go ahead and clear this layer out. And to do that, since we have it selected, we're going to go to our settings. Now, we don't want this to smooth too much because we kind of like rough coastlines, so we're just going to put the smoothing down to about 5%. Since we're working at 400 dpi, that means it is 6% of that 450 dpi. The taper bias, we're going to keep at 50%. And we're also going to make sure right here our anti-alias edge is off. The reason for that is, yes, it looks smoother, but it also creates a little bit of transparency on the side, on the edges of it. And when we fill that in, it's going to cause problems if we do that. So let's go ahead and let's just get started. Let's go with the dark green, kind of show where things are. And I'm just going to do this. We haven't planned anything out. We're just going to grab this and fly. Oh, just click on. If you switch tools, it automatically goes back to what you just had selected. Since we've made a new brush, I can actually go ahead and hit a new preset, and I can load that in to however I want. Now, if you'll notice on this, I have a lot of my own presets, like rivers, river brush, and ink pen. Just helps me take care of things a lot faster. Okay, I'm going to keep settings up here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I am going to close the layers, and let's just get started. Let's just throw something down. Yes, Nins, I'm making a fantasy map. Sorry, I didn't notice your comment a minute ago. I apologize. We're just displaying some things over on just how to work the software. So let's go ahead and just get started. Actually, let's bump up the pressure of this really high. We'll go to green. And we are just going to start drawing. Again, this is kind of a continent, so it's a rather big landmass. I'm using just a stylus for this. You can easily use your mouse. It's very forgiving. Again, we want to make sure we kind of have a rougher continent here, rough areas. We're currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. 2 channels on YouTube. So everybody, welcome to the stream. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Also, if you have special requests, like certain techniques, certain landforms, certain biomes, let me know too. I will be more than happy to draw anything you want. Again, this is not planned out. This is just us throwing some paint down and doing stuff. Okay, we kind of have a big island map. Let's go ahead and expand it. I kind of don't like this area here. How's the volume for everybody? We okay there? Yeah, it looks like we're okay. Maybe this coastline out. We got a tangent. Can't have tangents. And I'm just kind of molding this to shape and throwing stuff in there. Let's say that goes up. And maybe let's put another coastline down here. Maybe another little island or something like that. I do people and creatures as well. We're actually going to be, we primarily use ZBrush to do those. We do a lot of artwork. At our website, you can actually see some of the artwork we do. If you go to here, let me put that in the chat really quick. If you go to that website and click the art tab, you can actually see some of the things we've done on stream and some of the additional things we've done. Right now we're kind of pushing maps because we've been promoted by Art Rage. They found us and approached us to say, hey, we'd love to promote your new business if you use Art Rage. And we're like, heck yeah. And we really appreciated that. This and maybe Wednesday's map is the last ones we're going to do in Art Rage. We have some new software that's coming out that we've kind of stumbled upon that we want to give a try. We've gone to those companies and say, hey, is it okay for us to stream this? We believe in asking permission versus forgiveness because we feel that's honest. 1 second here.
215.
Okay, we're back. Had a little bit of family business I had to take care of. All right, and we're back. Just drawing, just kind of making something we kind of feel like. We also do 3D printing. Most of our models we use in ZBrush. We actually do, you know what, I think I have one here. Let's go back to the Dan show. Let's see if you can see this. Bad camera. We made this in ZBrush. We exported it, then we 3D printed it. And we also do a lot of miniature painting on the models we make. I didn't make this, Games Workshop did. We also find like little things like this is a slime cat from Slime Rancher that we do some 3D printing with. We're just seeing what people like. Let's go back to making a map. All right, now we're back.
If I can't help crying.
And there we go. Okay, I'm kind of digging that. I'm kind of liking that. Let's go ahead and start filling that in. Now, the paint bucket in Art Rage acts a little bit different than a regular paint bucket. And let's let me kind of show you some settings on this. Let's go to some presets. The presets is a basic spread fill. Then we have something called gap protection. And that's what we're going to be using. This is going to allow ArtRage to decide if there's any gaps or if there's any like holes in the image we made. Because if you've ever used a paintbrush, if you have so much as a pixel open without paint on it, it'll just fill the whole thing. So to use that, we go into gap protection. We put the spread down to about 9%, and then we go to about 10% gap tolerance. Now, if we had the spread at 100%, that's 100% of the 450 DPI, then we'd have issues. But right now we're at 10%. We've clicked on our little paint bucket here. It's going to take just a little time. It checks. Oh, and there we go. And I know I have a bunch of holes in this. It just ignores it. Just finds where it is. And we're just going to go ahead and paint. Now, ArtRage, the reason we're doing this, we're making a base for the map right now. ArtRage is kind of unique with painting software, because not only does it do everything that like Photoshop does or GIMP does when working with images, but it also behaves naturally. It emulates the behavior of natural paint. I've done a lot of oil painting, a lot of work with acrylics and pastels, and and lots of oil painting. And ArtRage actually mimics all the things and how they respond. And something else it keeps track of that we're going to utilize for making our fantasy. Let's zoom in here. What we're going to utilize is its ability to, now that please wait, is it just trying to figure out where there is, if there's any holes or gaps, and double checking. But it actually keeps track of how much mass is on the on the painting in one given spot. Let's just fill these, and I'll give you kind of an example. It'll probably be easier if we just zipped over to back to our pencil tool and just filled those in. Now, I've kind of created some little lines here. Lines really don't pop up in nature often. So we're just going to check the edges of this map, make sure I don't have any of those. Maybe fill in some of these. There we go. Just adding little textures, little details. Okay, not bad. Let's go ahead and get started with starting to add paint to this. To do that, I'm going to go into my layers tool. I'm going to lock my layers together. Excuse me, lock the transparency of this layer. I'm going to close my layers. And now we're going to go with kind of a neutral color. Let's go with a neutral, let's go with kind of a muddy, maybe a brownish green for this first layer. And I'm going to, the color on this, I'm going to about 15% metallic. The metallic's going to help us see stuff in this. We're going to increase our brush size to 500% of 450 DPI. And the tool I'm using is actually a gigantic ink tube, a gigantic oil painting tube. So when I splash it down on the map, that's me just dabbing it, okay? Or I can spread it around like that, and it's just like me just pouring out a tube all over the painting. And ArtRage is going to look at that and increase the size and increase the amount of mass of paint I'm putting on there, and remember what kind of paint I'm putting on there. Okay, so let's get started here. I'm just going to run this brush, kind of push a little hard on my pen, just all the way around this map. We'll just zoom out so everybody can see. Maybe we'll make a time lapse of this one. I'll just do that. And then, just for grins, I'm just gonna fill in the middle. And since it's remembering how much mass I put into it, I'm just gonna kind of make some little variations on where I'm putting the mass of the paint. Just like that. And then just follow the outlines, making sure everything is filled. Make sure I hit all the islands. I'm really bad at forgetting islands. So here we have, we've got a lot of material on this. And we kind of, how it looks squiggly? We kind of don't want that. So let's go ahead and go to our spatula tool, go to our presets. We're going to use the Heart Wet Blend preset. We're going to zip that up to about 250. Here's our settings for it. And now we're just going to take our brush and very lightly we're just going to go over it, and it's actually going to grab the paint, smoosh it down, and move it all over the place. And we're getting some nice variations. We're getting high points and low points with that layer we just made. If you don't like those, you can just grab an eraser. Let's say we don't like, I don't know. Let's finish this up and I'll show you how to correct this. That's the reason why we're doing these live streams, not edited, and we're posting them on YouTube and Facebook. Just to make sure if people make a mistake, they know how to fix it. Let's say I don't like this down here. Let's say it's just, I'm not paying attention and it's like very flat. I'm like, oh no. Nope, not a problem. All you have to do is just go back to your paint tube and just throw some new on. And let's say I kind of want this area in the middle raised. So I'm just going to slather paint on that like that, big old tube stuff. And yeah, not too shabby there. And we'll go back to our Hard Wet Blender, our knife tool. You can already see we got kind of a high point and we've got kind of a low point. Now, ArtRage does let us render stuff in real time. So if we're embossing or figuring out alphas, it's actually happening right in front of our eyes. If you notice also our canvas layer is sneaking under this. It's kind of helping us out create this map. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go in and we are going to add more paint and more mask to this painting by creating some mountain ranges. Let's bump this up a little harder. We're going to start big and then we're going to kind of go a little bit smaller. And let's kind of plan this out a little. Let's open up another tool here and get our pen out. And on this one, let's kind of mix this up a little. Let's say that north is going to be hot. South is going to be cold. Let's say our equator line's about right here. Our temperate line is going to be about right here. Our sub-temperate is here. And we'll put our wind direction going like this. Well, technically it goes like that. Then underneath it, it actually goes the opposite way. And this is our jet stream. Next jet stream. Okay, we've got our weather planned out. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes. And we're now going to look at, keep in mind about some continental drift and where continents would be. Let's go ahead and zip that. We're going to add a lot of mass to this. And let's go to the samples. I forgot to add this. There we go. And now we are going to just take our big paint tube and we're going to look at this map, and it looks like we have a division in the plate here. So the plate's pulling away. And let's say up in this corner, we have the plate starting to form. So we are going to, whoops, go back to the layer, make sure it's locked. We're just going to put a rough mass, and this is adding. Oh, good. Glad you found us. If you look us up on YouTube, we've got a ton of tutorials. Just go grab them. So now I'm making this, let's say this is where a continental divide is and it's squishing together. We got a plate going on, and we're probably going to need to put some more islands there to show that there's a plate. So now I'm adding mass to this. Maybe there's some offshoots. And again, it's layer and layer of paint. Dan, welcome to the stream. Really appreciate it. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Everybody on Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, down here, you know what? I really don't like these that I just did. Let's just get rid of those mountains right there. I don't like those. Make some mountains. Yeah, I'm digging that. I'm really digging that. All right, now that we've got those, we're going to go back again to our heart wet blend. However, we are going to reduce the pressure on this, and this is actually going to allow us to distort these so we don't get circle mountains everywhere. So let's get in there. We're just going to do that really quick, and you can see we have extended mass. We have actually a large amount of mass of all the paint layers we've added right in those areas. And I'm just going back and forth, little circles. All right, so we've got where our mountains are going to be. Now let's go ahead and, well, got to finish these up a little. We're now going to add the details to those mountains, and we're also going to start looking at hills. Now, ArtRage has a tool that, in normal circumstances, I loathe glitter. I think it's the herpes of arts and crafts. Worked in entertainment for many years, for 20 years, and anytime someone came in with glitter, I would die inside because it'd get everywhere and it's impossible to clean up. However, in ArtRage, it's really cool. You hit your glitter tool, and the glitter tool is going to allow us to add a ridiculous amount of texture and mass onto our painting. First of all, let's just demonstrate that for you first. We're going to choose our squares. We're going to up the pressure and glitter size to something kind of extreme. And when I add this, you can see if I kind of do it light on my stylus, it's just a mass, but if I really just go nuts with it, it just adds more glitter and more glitter and more glitter. Okay? So use your glitter pen wisely. Let's go ahead and back out, and what we're going to do first is we're going to add some texture. We got a lot of very smooth spots, so we're going to go and use the Easy Dirt preset. We're going to increase this to about to 250%. Again, we're using 425 DPI. Got some little marks here we want to clean up. Just switch back. And we're just going to very gently, let me up the metallic on this so you can really see it. We're just going to very gently try to make the smoothest possible mass of kind of this texture. Let's zoom in so you can really see it. We'll come back and smooth this down. We'll enhance the highlights and lowlights of this. This just kind of mixes things up and allows us to create some depth and strength in this map. Again, we don't want too much. Let's say this mountain right here is now a volcano. See how I'm just splashing it all on there? There's going to be issues later. All right. We're up here. We're up here. We're just adding textures and mass, textures and mass, textures and mass. Okay. Now, we're not looking to refine our shape right now. We're just looking to create, we're looking to create a shape and not the details. The next glitter setting I'm going to do is we're going to make mountains. I'm going to choose my sparse squares. I'm going to increase the pressure to ridiculous size, turn these suckers up to 100%, reduce the size to 25. Let me show you the effect of this before I really get into it so you guys kind of know what I'm doing. In this raised area, let's say we start with some mountains. Okay, this is going to be our main mountain line. And actually, let's change the color so you guys can really see this, so this pops out. Let's go ahead and make a custom color. Let's just go grab a gray, add that to our samples. Yeah, that works, that works. Okay. Now, let me show you this technique. I like doing the really fun stuff after I get all this boring texture and mass done. But let me show you what I'm getting at so you can see the madness, the genius through them. I don't want to call it genius, but, well, genius ArtRage. Okay, this is my instant blur brush. This is the big secret. When I blur textures, if you guys can see, I'm getting an instantaneous mountain range that looks realistic, that has low points and high points. And when I do these textures, it actually does the same thing. So that's the next step after I put these mountains on. And then I come in, after we're done with this, I come in with a different brush, which we call Hard Chaos. Oops, way too much harsh chaos there. 250 is great. And I just come in here and tap on the side of these mountains, and I'm not spending hours creating alphas and rendering stuff like in Photoshop or GIMP. And I have an instant mountain range like that. We'll do it more in detail, but that's pretty much the technique I'm going to be using. I'm just going to get out of this so things get planned out a little better. And right now, let's focus on, it looks like we have up here 3 mountain ranges. We have a mountain range here, mountain range here, mountain range here. Then down here on this little subcontinent, we have a little tiny guy right there. So let's go ahead and start focusing on that. We'll start with this mountain range right here. And let's say these are generally new mountains, so they're going to be very twisty. They haven't been eroded that much yet. Or like maybe kind of like the Himalayas. Not as big, because those things are absolutely ridiculous. Also, for good references on size and shape, I can't stress Google Earth as much as possible. I do a lot, actually. I've played it since I was 8, and I really, really, really enjoy it. We're actually making our own role-playing game as well. We're working on a system first, and then we are making a system so you can create anything you want, kind of generic, and then we're making more of a unique campaign setting, set in a golden age versus a long forgotten age. How about you guys? Anybody play D&D here, or your favorite role-playing games? And if so, what version? My favorite version, and this is going to kind of prove how old I am, is I remember playing the 2nd edition, and then they came out with 2.5, and that was like the coolest thing ever. I made I'd make a barbarian that was afraid of snakes and like heights, and just make him into a wrecking ball of pure destruction. There's like 3.5. I have all the Pathfinder books. I never really got a chance to play Pathfinder because I was out touring. But I've settled down now. Okay. Gone ahead, and we've got our little squiggly lines. Everybody's happy with those. Now we're going to reduce the size of this glitter brush. We're going to go about, let's say about 15. Again, that's 15% of 450 DPI. And we're just going to start making our little offshoots of the mountains here. And our plate tectonics. But no, I enjoy D&D. The stories, yeah, all about the stories and the friends. One of the best stories ever. Well, one of a good one. I was running a campaign with my wife and her friend and a couple others. And we got to this big, it was like 5 months of this campaign. And in that, there was this huge, complex, very much past history with everybody and crazy stuff that happened with family members. And they're in this giant floating citadel, and they're, it's the big fight. And they've had this mentor this entire time, and their mission was they had to go save their mentor, and they only had X amount of time before their mentor was killed, and, standard drama. And I had them, the whole scenario was they were going down this like ancient Aztec pyramid down into the base of this flying citadel. And in order to get down there, they had there's guards and stuff, and it was going to be this huge fight, and they had to use their resources, but realizing that they had a big fight with the big bad guy at the end, they had to, really save up some resources. But my wife, being my wife, she decided that to expedite the situation, she grabbed a shield off the wall. Oh, what's this? Well, thank you. Do you want me to look at that right now? I'd be more than happy to. But anyways, they get on the shield, and they just zip down the entirety of this gigantic. Hold on, email's being silly. Of the staircase, and they write it down. They make all the checks. You know what? I just read your email. I do have an interest in that. I will contact you about that, and we'll see what we can do. We have some crazy little production stuff. But hey, what the heck? We're a new company. We're about 3 weeks old, and love to help people out. All right, back to the story. So they get down there, rescue the guy. They just plow right through the end boss because they have all their abilities still and their magic, and just cream him. And it was the most hair-braising adventure with them going down on the shield and rocking out and stuff. All right, so there we go with our mountain ranges. Scraggy, big mountains here, smaller mountains here. And now let's go ahead and make our hills. To make our hills, I usually just do back to easy dirt. And the hills will come off the mountains. Let's go ahead and increase the size of those in our settings. Maybe even a little bigger. There we go. And they're just going to come down like this. We're going to pull them off the mountains. And again, this is not the details. We're making a base for where it's just like adding clay onto a canvas. We're just stockpiling it really high. And the next step of this is we're going to start carving out. Well, we'll add erosion lines and texture of land, and then we'll start carving the crap out of this. And it's kind of really scary because once it starts going, the map just only takes form. It's really dramatic, and we had a friend say we should stream it. There we go. So Dan, what do you need from map drawing? What can we help you with there? You said you needed something like this. Any requests? Anything we can do to, We're also doing reviews of software here later this week. There's some other products that we're going to look at and show our audiences. Is there anything you specifically want or need that you think people will be interested in? Now I'm just going to add random hills here and there. Maybe some hills over here. We'll come back to these a little bit later. And yeah, we got something going on here. Little island continent here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create the erosion lines and the low parts and the high parts of the earth. Now our mountains, of course, are our high parts. And the erosion over time, weather and stuff, has left the high parts of the mountains, or as this rained, snowed, it's left the harder materials and mass near the middle of the continent. So let's go ahead and get in there really quick. And we're going to be oddly enough, we're going to be using our eraser with our lock transparency on. We're going to move our eraser size to about, let's go 30%. And we're going to start in the mountains, and we're just going to, now I do have softness on this, and we're just going to make some erosion lines. We're just going to imagine where the wind has played, where the you know, where things have gone down. See, just like that. Now, streaming, I do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. We used to do it at night, but it got so crazy hectic. So we found we could take our time and we could just, you know, really create better videos at 1 o'clock in the afternoons, 3 times a week. Back to what I'm doing right now. I'm thinking of where the mass of the materials for this world are. Now, these aren't rivers. Make sure we're aware of that. Rivers don't behave like, well, most of the time don't behave and bifurcate like this. Okay? This is just where the erosion is. We'll do rivers last. I really should post my schedule. Thank you for that advice. Really appreciate that. Also, yeah, I do. There's a question from Facebook. I definitely love criticism, as long as it's, you know, constructive criticism. I generally have improved a great deal since I've been doing this stream. We had someone, you know, mention some tapering. We made an entire new technique actually last week on that, and it's really improved some of the work we've done. And I'll actually show you that technique today. We've got about half hour left in this map, half hour, 45 minutes at the very, very most. The process I'm doing right now is going to take the longest time. We also had some people come into the office, so sorry about the background noise. And by office, I mean my house, my front room. All right. By people, I mean my kids. Okay, in the middle of this, we're going to have almost kind of a continental divide. Well, right here, of course it is, and right here it is. So we're going to come in. And again, this is where the continent's going to be the very lowest. If you look over in like in China's great deserts and stuff like that, and also like maybe in North American Idaho or some parts of Bolivia, you'll find areas that are rather low, like this. And I kind of really like this in this map, and it just kind of naturally flows that way. It's also another reason I like R-Rage a lot, is it's very much, since everything's rendered at one time, and in real time, you're not going to get... everything's very natural and very quick and very smooth. It does take a little time to develop a technique. And other things like that. Awesome, I will. Where are you at, Ninus? Yes, I will always post on our Facebook channel. And I'll also probably, since you sent me an email, I will throw you an email too, just to give you all the links and stuff since you're interested in that. More than happy to. Denmark. Oh, that's where my ancestors came from, is Denmark. So very cool. Hey, get to bed. Thanks so much for dropping by, and hope this is helping. Okay, back to the map. Again, this is the low parts of the map I'm working on. Yeah, talk to you later. Have a good one. low points of the earth and stuff. Again, this is definitely not where the rivers are going to be. That'll happen next. These are low and high points, and we're keeping track of the valleys, the rivers. Well, kind of planning the rivers out a little bit, I won't lie. But also just making sure I'm getting kind of the height and elevation of the map as well. There we go. Okay, making sure I get the islands, because I neglect islands. They're like, oh, I don't want to use a term that's going to offend anybody, but they're like my, I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody. Like that weird cousin. Or the really ugly pirates that pirates shun. Alright. So I'm just going to add a little more texture into these wide open spots to keep it consistent. And then we are going to move on to the really fun part of, we're going to first smooth this texture out, make sure everything merges well. Alright, not bad. Let's go ahead and go to the next step of this. To do that, we're going to go back to our palette knife. We're going to select our harsh chaos. We're going to up this to about 175 of the 425 pixels. I'm going to put my pen down, as you can hear, and I'm going to go with my mouse. And what I'm going to do, actually, I regress. I missed a step. I'm going to go to my instant blur. Bump this sucker up to about 250. We blur first and then sculpt. Pull the softness and pressure down below 15%. Okay, very important. Go back to my pen, pick it back up. And that's even too much right there. I can tell right now that's too much. So let's go ahead and drop the softness. I'm about right there. Let me go ahead and zoom in and show you what this is doing now. It's even too much there. 3%? Yeah, we just want this to gently touch it. We already have, you can see the spine of the mountain range as I pass my brush over it. And it's also picking up those textures, adding color and shadows, dark and light shadows, creating a beveled edge on those little channels we just made. Rendering the detail a little bit. It's smoothing it out so that real-time effect of embossing and lighting rendering that RH does really picks up on that. Getting the rest of this done. And again, I'm just, we're at our presets, we're at like 3%, and it's just as light as touch as I can go. I can really, dig down into it, but I really don't want to. I am going to make another pass on the mountains, though, to help enhance that. Make sure we get all these little low points done. Okay, now back to the mountains. Let's zoom in and let me show you exactly what I'm doing with the mountains. Okay, I'm kind of pushing a little harder, and you can see it's creating a texture right there. Creating a texture right there. See? And then we're going to shape the crap out of these here in a second. Then alright, then we will color this and then add forests. We've got about 15-20 minutes. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and start cutting away at this. Again, we go back to our knife tool. We select our harsh chaos, bump this to 150. And I'm going to decrease the pressure just about 72%. We can actually go a little bit bigger. Let's go 200 with this. That's not bad. We're going to start over here. I'm just going to get my mouse out. And I'm going to come on the side of these mountains, and I'm just going to tap and kind of follow the low points. And I'm getting an instant mountain texture. And because that brush is cutting into these, it's creating a realistic, you see the high points, the low points we have there? It's creating, on these hill areas, instant hills and sharp peaks. Now, on these big ridges, I'm actually going to work on the ridges first, and I'm not going to click directly on them because it'll ruin it, just like that. It's like boom. Okay, so I'm going to come to the side, and don't worry about those little lines. We'll get to those later. And you got to remember, there's a layer underneath this that we've already scraped into, and those are going to become. We're going to utilize that. Okay, I'm just going to the side of these big mountains and clicking on it, and boom, we're getting instant mountains in real time. No weird alpha channels, no weird anything else like that. There's great ways to do it, but if you want a really natural feel and something very organic, I found that Art Rage just kick some tush on there. There we go. Just going in there. Oh, yep. Yeah, really looking good here. Okay, we're hitting these. Boom, boom, boom. This is the calming part of the playlist. We sometimes do a map in an hour. This one not so much. I want to kind of take my time with this one. And this was to help me keep me calm, because usually at this point I'm running around with my head cut off. There we go. And again, I'm just clicking to the side of the mountain. These mountains are a lot older, so maybe I'll just double tap them. See that? A couple double clicks, and you know we got some happiness here. Older mountains. Back in here, we'll hit these hills just a little bit, not too much. And then back in these mountains. Now that we got our mountains done, we're gonna zoom back. Oh, I forgot some. See? Oh, and now we'll get to that guy later. Again, staying on near our big mountains and just clicking on them. It's creating this really nice, realistic mountain formations. We will be coming back with a blur tool on these a little bit later to actually create the ridges. But first, we want to put the rivers that actually are going in and shaping these. Since we got the mountains done, we're now going to go back to our pen, our little stylus, because we want a lot of control in this next part. And we're going to slowly, we're going to bring this down to about, let's start at 100. And we're going to, maybe to, we're going to run our stylus up these low spots. If you can see what I'm doing right there. And this is creating, that brush is coming in and creating a high point and a low point. Then we'll go in and we'll take care of the mountains as well. Do you see that? As we go in there, I'm going to kind of pull some of these mountains in. You just kind of modify it as you go. Looks like I missed some mountains up here. That's fine. Just make those a little smaller. Again, I'm pulling in from the ocean. Maybe down from the mountains to the ocean. Let's do that. Down from the mountains to the ocean. If you want it really rough, like right up here, this area should be rough. So we're going to pull from the mountains down to the ocean. And just following these little trails that we made. See that? And right here as well. And maybe over here too. Now, when we get into these plain areas, we're going to reverse that. See, we're up in here now, and we're just going to reverse it, and it's going to make it a lot smoother. The reason for that is it's tracking how much paint's on the map, and then just standardizing it all the way down or up, depending on the direction you go, or depending on how much mass. It's all on Art Rage's website. It's very technical. You start low, it's smooth. You start high, it's rough. And you guys can actually see we've now got erosion lines, and we've got a natural formation of where realistically the low points of this map would go. And actually, let's try something fun. We kind of have this big line. Let's increase our size. Right now we're at 100%, but let's go at maybe 150 and push really hard, and we're just going to go up all the way through this area. Create a gigantic low point right here. Then from that low point, we're going to back down to 100. And we're just going to carve from the mountains down to that low point and use that to blend in. See that? We already got hills, we've already got dividing, and you can see those little ridges right now. To enhance those, we'll go in and color those, add some of the metallic paint, and just have those details pop out. Also, you'll notice the canvas kind of looks a little bit wet. I'll show you how we deal with that as well. Some parts we want to look wet with moisture, some parts we definitely don't. I think we're going to be doing a desert area up north here. We'll just assume this is in like some kind of world, southern hemisphere. And now I'm running my brush all over this. Oh, I missed some mountains here. There we go. And again, rough. I start at the high points and move down. Smooth, I start at the low points and move up. Just seems to work that way. Same thing down here. These areas, maybe all these, rough and smooth and rough and smooth. Add kind of a variance to how things feel. Now, I can always go back and add additional details to this. I can repeat this process as many times as I want. On our big maps at Drive-Thru RPG, we repeat that process so many times. Those suckers are 36 inches by 24 inches at 420 DPI. You can blow those suckers up to about about 8 feet by 6 feet. You can do a lot with those guys. That also takes like 3 weeks to do. All right. So we've now created kind of our low points and high points on this map. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going to go in and up here. It just kind of seems a little messy. So I might just pull down some stuff and help define these mountains a little bit more. And I'm just going in, see that? Pulling some mass towards the mountain to help. There we go, a little lake right there, that's kind of cool. There we go. Whoops, there's the canvas. All right, islands, yeah, island check. Yeah, totally missed one. Yay, islands. Let me show my enthusiasm. But they're important. All right. There we go. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is we're going to now do the coastlines. Same way. We're going to up our harsh chaos. Actually, let's go with our hard wet blend. We're going to up this guy to 250. We're going to take our mouse, go to the edge of this, and let's do harsh chaos. Why? Because I feel like it. 250, and we're just going to click on the edges of the coastline. If you notice, like right there, it's actually cutting into the coastline. Like right there, we got hills, we got We can come in and make beaches, but it creates this really cool staggered land. If I hold down my mouse, it does this, which is kind of fun. You kind of get a preview of what we're going to be doing here in a few moments once we get these rivers in. Now, if you watched a previous video, like one of our older ones, we did it a little bit differently, but we've developed a new technique. I'm going to show you guys that here today. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm not going to worry too much about the detail. There's things in this kind of the map I don't like some of these divots, but once we get the rivers in, it's probably not going to be a problem. Okay, to do the rivers and the techniques that go with rivers, hold on, let me fix these hills, because these hills right here are bugging me. There we go. To do the rivers, we're going to go in, and we are going to start, first of all, we're going to get our planned out on where wind's coming from that we've done. Okay, we know that rain's coming this way and rain's coming this way. Based on that, we're going to have a lot of moisture in this area that maybe comes down, but not so much in this area. So our rivers are going to be coming down into this way. A little moisture over here, a lot of moisture down here. Some moisture right there, and we'll do kind of a deserty, drier area right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and hide our planning file. To do rivers, this is how I do them, and it's working really well. First of all, I start out with my, going back to a, let's find just a, let's just go to the no anti-aliasing pen. We're going to make our custom brush. We're going to put that anti-aliasing edge on it. We're going to put the pressure up to crazy. We're going to make the opacity at 100%. And the key here is this taper bias. We're going to drop that to 0. Okay, what that's going to do for us is that if the taper on the line, you can see where I start and where I ended. Drop the smoothing down a little bit. Come on. Oh well, it'd help if I... Okay, my bad. Aspect up to 100%, taper length up to 100%, pressure at 50%, taper length, and taper bias. Okay, taper bias, from where I start to where it finishes, I start thick, I end it small at 0%. If I do it 100, where I start is small, where it ends is big. Okay, we're going to actually do these from the ocean up to where they end. I'm going to drop this down to about, let's say, 5%. This is in a totally different layer. And I'm just going to start down here. Down here, let's say we have a delta. Actually, let's make this anti-alias. And taper length, we're going to just play with it. Find out what you guys like. And these low points, I'm now going to follow up to where they originate up in the mountains. And it's very important. I'm going to limit my pressure and change it as I go. Rivers, for the most part, in most areas, they kind of bifurcate going upstream and not downstream. Now, in areas with that's new land or areas that have a lot of like heavy minerals, oops, didn't do that one right, ocean up only, you're gonna get some, like right here, this area right here is gonna be, there's gonna be some very hard material causing this to split out into a delta. Again, I'm just following that pre-constructed, that texture we already put down, so it's very natural looking. That texture comes from all that mass we added. And we put all that mass from our very first. This area is a lot more dry, so we're only going to do a couple rivers up here. Again, it's layer upon layer, makes it really natural. Yeah, we'll be done soon. Again, if you need to watch the videos, I put these on YouTube's like immediately after. We actually do this live on YouTube, so it records it. I will fiddle with the graphics because no one wants to see my mug. That is not how you attract viewers. And again, just kind of doing the same thing. Just having some rivers come from these hills. Now, over here, we're going to make a gigantic river. Okay, we're going to start here. And we're going to have this kind of a meandering river. Probably during the spring it overflows and it gets really big and really scary if you're familiar with those kind of rivers. Then we're going to make kind of a divide here. We're going to make sure that this area right here is a highland. So it makes sense why. Oh, I messed that one up. Let's go ahead and look at that. Alright, so we're back down here with our meandering river. And maybe the people of this land, you can, I messed that up too. Start at the body of water, go up. See? New technique, new problems, new things to remember. But you can start kind of crafting your campaign even in the map making. Okay? You've got this large body of water that stretches everywhere. It's a little seasonal, but for the most part, it's stable. You got this kind of valley that channels all the rain, so you kind of have this very, there might be a lot of history in this valley, a lot of civilizations, a lot of ruins if you like those. I do. Gotta have ruins in your campaign. Of course, it's your choice. So we have this big meandering river here. All right. I think we got some cool. Let's put one more. Let's put one more river in. Yeah. This one's kind of sandwiched between everything. Let's put a lake here. I want a lake. To do that, we're just going to just fill this in a little. All right, I made a lake. Yay! All right, hold on. We need some more down here to make this, to follow our plan that we did. Okay, here's the next step of this process. Since this is another layer, we are going to go to our selection tool. It's this guy right here where my mouse is. We're going to choose our magic brush. We're going to put the difference, current layer only, very important. And we're going to click on this, and it's going to highlight where we put our paint. We're going to now take this, and we are going to go to Edit, and Invert Selection. The shortcut is Control-Shift-I on this, and it's just going to select where that paint is. We're now going to come down to our layer here, unlock the transparency, and hit Delete. And now we have an instant river system that is ready to go and ready to be shaped. So let's go ahead and lock that down. Go back in and grab Yield Harsh Chaos. Now, I'm actually going to modify this brush a little at this point. I'm going to turn the fall off on this so we get really big crackles on this. Okay? Let's just play with the brush. Okay, up the dip spread, because I really want this. Yeah, there we go. Let's reset it. To reset it, all you have to do is just hit Harsh Chaos. There we go. Could increase this to about 150. Now for the first part of this, for the coastlines, I'm going to take my mouse and I'm just going to click up these coastlines just once. So it's very controlled, very flat. And all we're doing now is we're just shaping, we're actually carving the land. Maybe there's a giant fortress here. Also with this brush, you can see that we already have hills and all this kind of cool stuff there. And the lowlands, the place where there's a lot of low areas, like our river we made, I'm just going to use my mouse. I'm going to switch to my stylus. You don't have to use a stylus. You just can control the pressure. If you don't have a stylus. It's something I love about our Edge. I know you can do that on Photoshop too, but it's just kind of cool on our Edge. That's just right there in front of you. You don't have to have like 1020 vision. Alright. So these coastlines, I'm just running my brush over these. Just carving them through. Okay, let's go back to the rivers with my stylus. What we're going to do is pretty much the same thing. But when we get to the end of them, I'm going to back off a little bit on the pressure. I'm also going to finish up shaping the mountains if we need to. You can see this is actually physically cutting away at the mountains. And now you're starting to see every hill, every valley, every mountain, every little this and that on the map. See, we got hills and highlands right there. Come back up here. We have this big highland. So I'm going to just really push hard right here. Maybe take my scalp and my knife and just cut the crap out of this area. Do some circles, make some more strata. I haven't done World Machine yet. I'd like to check that out. Is the website just Word Machine? Sorry, World Machine. My bad. My bad. Got two eyes, different places. Alright. I should check that out. We are going to be reviewing some other products, so if you guys have a product you want us to look at, please let us know. Okay. So now I have high points, low points. I can kind of see here, we have all these hills and mountains. Very organic, very natural. If I'm a wizard or a magic user or airship captain, this is the kind of world I'm going to see, and I'm going to, if I have a little scrying ball or familiar, this is what I'm going to be reproducing for adventures and maps. Okay, let's go ahead and start coloring here. Let's go back to our planning, little planning thing here. Again, south is going to be cold, north is going to be hot, so let's reflect that. Let's go ahead and let's get some brown colors. Now, we're going to go to airbrush, and this actually behaves pretty much like an airbrush. You don't get the physical, the shh and the vibration, but it's very close. Okay, I'm up here, and I'm going to start with this, with the color from our samples. And I'm just lightly going to, in little circles, start running my brush across the mountains like this. Don't worry about that green or the other colors. And again, with all the masks that Art Rage keeps track of, your high points will look like high points, the low points will look like low points. This is where a big rain shadow is going to be as well. And then it's just layer after layer, and I'm always pulling stuff down, okay? Now we don't want this just one color, so let's go ahead and we're going to make this a little darker where the mountains are. I'm just following these mountains as such. I'm allowing that brown to blend into that tan. And we'll go in and fix these mountains a little bit. Okay, because your mass on deserty mountains, your hard material is always going to be a lot darker, and then the like the sand and the dunes and stuff is always going to be a little more brighter. It's actually just kind of like, you know, if you're sanding something, that's exactly what's going on. Now for these coastlines, let's go ahead and highlight these coastlines. We're going to highlight the coastlines, and then we're going to reinforce where our valleys and stuff are. To do that, I'm just going to still use my airbrush. I'm going to lower it to about 150. Again, that's 150% below the DPI. Making sure my metallic's a little bit, about 30%, 25 to 30. Oh, island. Crap. I hate islands right now. Okay. Yeah, I just obliterated that island. Make sure we make our islands cool looking. Tonian, if that's how you say your name. If it's not, I sincerely apologize. What do you like about that? What do you like about World Machine? Again, I'm focusing my color near the base here. I kind of want a little bit of green, but not too much. And I'm also running this color, this lighter color in the lower places. Yeah, so we got something kind of cool going on there. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit darker, maybe a kind of a yellowish tan color. I'm going to reduce the size of this to about 50. I'm going to up the metallic though. Oops, bad color, to about 40, and I'm going to start, let's up the pressure a little bit more on that too. There we go. Our higher areas, I'm just going to very lightly, see all those hills and stuff? I'm just going to very lightly hit those high parts with a different color. Key is putting metallic paint in there because it's going to really bring out, you see right there, we already have this kind of deserty paths. That's just the trick. We have all this texture that we can kind of go in and highlight. There we go. There we go. Maybe just down here. You know, I'm really digging this color. So let's go ahead and use this for some other parts of the mountain. I'm just going to add a sample, even though we already have it. Like right here, we can go in and pull this color up into the mountain areas. Maybe this isn't too desert. Maybe it's more like grasslands. And we can define our big mountain ranges with this a little bit more towards the desert side. Looks like we missed a little bit of a mountain there. Let's go fix that. Not too much, just a little couple strokes there. There we go. All right, not too bad there. So let's add some desert right in this area because, you know, kind of we have that pass. So we kind of want to add some of that. That's cool. We like that. All right, so let's go ahead and we're now going to work on, we're going to use the same color because it's reacting really well to the green. And on these higher portions in the greener areas, we're just going to run our brush. Let's actually increase the size of this so it doesn't take a couple hours. Again, we do have some, this is going to be a shameless plug, so if you're not interested, sorry. We have some maps on sale at Drive Through RPG, and these are maps we spent like 3 weeks on. They are 36 inches by 28 inches, 450 DPI. Depending on your needs, you can blow them up from 400, you know, from like 36 inches up to like 8 feet and retain significant details. It's a little overkill, but just something, so whatever you want. Or if you like just a portion of the map, you can go grab them and go nuts with them. Okay, see? Just adding it to the high parts. Now right here, we're definitely going to add it to this highland area we made. We're going to get in this groovy little highlands and other places. And I'm going to kind of blend these hills in a little bit more. Because we don't want little starfish hills. Well, maybe someone does. I don't. Not right now on this one. See that? Nice texture. This map's a little dark, so I might later go in with Outrage and adjust the color settings. But yeah, I'm just running my brush down the length of this. Like that. Hitting the islands. Had a heart attack for a second there. I thought the transparency wasn't locked. Always good to check. So we kind of have a nice, really nice base coat. Okay, now let's go ahead and make this sing. We're going to go grab this kind of a, let's go with a, maybe yellow that we don't have. Maybe this bright yellow. Up the metallic. Bring down the pressure. And these ridges, we're just going in and just touching them once. Just like that. Again, being very light on them. I could lower the texture, the pressure on these, but I kind of don't want to because I like the control. We're just doing where there's little ridges and where it's rough. You can already see how much that's causing it to pop out. Again, it's about that texture, and it's layer upon layer of paint, and we're actually just physically carving out where that paint is. Outrage is not giving us any topography. I do actually. We do use geoscans. We've been playing with 3D printing quite a bit, and we're finding that there's a big demand for 3D printed maps. So we've been using ZBrush with topographical scans, and we're actually creating maps in fantasy worlds based on those. Not too much though, but we have used it before, and I'm a huge fan of that. I really like going on to Google Earth and just studying stuff. Something we have been doing that we're playing with is that we are these maps we're making. We're developing a way that we create a height elevation, and we're actually printing them in 3D. But that's very far from being done. All right, we kind of have our basic shape. We can go in and edit this down, fix it up, make it greener. Actually, let's make some of this greener a little bit. Let's grab just a light green, and we're just going to run this down the valleys. Just like that. Let it blend in. Kind of go harder near the bottom. From geoscan sites, I don't use it from geoscan sites exactly, but I definitely do a lot of studying using that stuff. One second. I was wondering if the guys knew where I have a map that we actually did that I printed out in 3D. Alright, so we got some variants, we got some color variants. That looks good. Okay, let's hit these mountains a little bit more. To do these mountains, we're going to grab this area here. We're going to really want to make these pop out, so we're going to go with a gray. Back to our brush, and now we're going to just start running some pressure on that. It's really not popping out like I want it to. Going to start running a lighter gray brush over those, just where we want the main line of the mountain to be. So it blends just a little bit better and pops out just a little bit better. We'll then add some more highlights. To these. Again, it's little layers of paint. I am really hurrying on this, but you can see how fast this technique is going. It's all about planning it out first and, just adding layers and layers and just running with it naturally. You can always edit or start. Alright, that looks better. Now we're going to go in with a lighter kind of gray. We're going to reduce our brush size, and we're now going to go over these again. But you'll notice we have kind of some ridges, like right here, we really want to stay next to. And it just takes just a little gob. We'll go in and actually cap these off here where there's snow. Now over near this desert, there will be snow on top of these mountains, but not much. Like right over here, there's not going to be much at all. Down here, up here, down here. You can see how much better those are starting to pop. Down here, we're just going to trace some. Not too much, though. I kind of went a little too much right there, but that's okay. We'll fix it up here in a second. And again, if you do mess up, just grab some other paint and throw down. Your airbrush is going to conform to the shape of the paint underneath it. And it's not going to modify anything there. So just remember that. If you mess up, really easy fix. Again, we're just working on the lines. These are older mountains. We're not going to do too much with those guys. These new mountains down here, though, oh yeah. Actually, those mountains looks kind of pukey, so we're going to go in. We're going to define the area a little bit better. See that? Blends the color, too. That's another big secret with our knife brush. All right, let's go cap some mountains now. Do that. Airbrush. Turn it to about, I don't know, 25. We're going to go white. We're going to up our metallic to around between 40 and 50. And we're just going to go to the top of the mountains. Let's actually drop the metallic down. We want this bright as heck. We are just going to hit the very top of these squiggles. We're going to kind of stay away from the desert, err on the side that's green. This is definitely going to be where a large forest is over on this side, because of life's little fun rain shadows. And we've kind of planned out where the wind moves. I don't claim to be a meteorologist or an expert at weather, but really great resources online that you can check out. See how that pops now? There we go. And just, busting this out really fast. Doot, doot, doot. Yeah, I'm going to have big white areas here, though, because this is cold. Actually, we should, on these hill areas, we're going to add some snow here. Snow's hard to do, right? But if you put the texture down first, we have a tundra right there or something. I'm just squiggling paint on where there's texture. Nothing really scientific about it. All right, guys, not too bad there. I'm really not kind of happy with this color, so we're going to go and I think I'm going to add some dark into it. It's not jiving for me too well, so maybe near the mountains we're gonna. There we. Let's go with more reddish. Yeah, there we go. That feels a lot better. That wasn't jiving with me for some reason. Pull that down a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Then we'll come in and do a little bit of this. Sneak some others up into the. There we go. short, controlled strokes. Let's just get rid of that green. I think that's what was killing me. There we go. Hey, welcome to the stream. We are streaming on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks so much for coming by. We've been working on this map for a little bit over an hour and a half, and we're now going to be adding the forests. And this one's a doozy, okay? This actually takes the least amount of time, and it's probably one of the most funnest. In previous, we've talked about how Art Rage keeps track of how much paint's in one area. Well, we're going to abuse the crap out of that right now. We're going to go with our sticker spray. Now, usually sticker spray is like fun, cutesy things like flowers or like fireballs or, you know, cutesy stuff like that. But I found with Art Rage, you got some natural shapes like fur, art brushes and stuff like that. Just some really interesting stuff. We're going to use one of these because what they do is, I'm going to zoom in really close here. It creates an alpha channel of anti-alias. You can kind of see that right there. Okay, we're going to use that, and we're going to basically put a mask on there, and we're going to then apply mass amount of paint on those, on these little things. I start with a new layer. I make sure that I don't have anything locked. For this, I'm going to make it a garish, a horrible red color. I'm going to grab my mouse, and I'm just going to slather forests. Now, don't freak out. Everywhere that I feel there should be, according to the kind of the design we made. Since we have a rain shadow here, they're going to be really thick right up against these mountains. Maybe some down here, maybe some here. Up here, let's just say we have stuff coming up, so we're going to get it on this side, on the high areas in this area like this. Maybe not so much up here, maybe just little ones up here. This helps me see and control exactly where these forests are going to be. And I'm keeping it to one side because we have kind of some wind just with how we've constructed this land and how we've planned it out. Let's bring that up really quick. Not that. That. We can see that the wind is actually coming up here, coming down here, but it's going to be pushing up into this valley. So if it's pushing up there, it's going to be dropping rain on the side of these where it's higher. Then you're going to get a lot more vegetation growth. Now I'm just going a little nuts. Put them on the forest heights crap. So I'm putting that on those naughty little islands that I don't like. Alright. If you notice, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of stuff that maybe isn't 100% kosher. We'll get to that in a second. I'm now going to drop this sticker spray down to 50%. Put it in between stuff to kind of break these big splooches up. And with this, don't be afraid to go nuts. Don't be afraid to, I'll show you the effect here, and you'll see exactly why I say don't be afraid to go nuts. Because we're actually going to just force feed, kind of like a Play-Doh tool that you messed with as a kid. We're actually going to do this with paint with these. We're making a giant Play-Doh shaper. And we're going to take paint and we're just going to ram it down this thing's throat. For here, we're going to have a little sparser forests. It's colder. But when we do have forests, they're evergreens. They're really tight. We find those along the baselines here. Maybe a little alpine thing there. Again, I'm using my mouse because if I use my pen, I'll get stuff like that, which isn't too bad, but I kind of don't want that right now. Maybe down here we do. I lied. I want that now. Okay. Let's go up here. Just make little tiny variations of the forest. All right. Okay, cool. What we're going to do now is we are going to go down to this layer, to our land layer that we've been working so hard on. We're going to hit our selection tool. We're going to click on the, making sure it's current layer only. We're going to click on the pixels without any images, the blank pixels. Come back to our forest layer, hit delete, and lo and behold, that just cleans everything up. Okay, so we don't have any weird overlaps. We're then going to lock this layer. Going to grab ye olde mighty glitter brush, up this to 250, and everybody hold on to your butts because this is going to get really interesting really fast. We're going to grab our glitter tool, find where we want to start, hold it down, and ladies and gentlemen, we have instant forests. Now, something we can do to speed up this process is we go to Tools, Layer Options, go down to Blend Bump Modes, hit Add. And that's just going to speed things up. You don't have as much control, and you don't get this really cool kind of gradient. But for this case, for this tutorial, we're talking about speed. Because I know everybody has something else to do today, and there's only so much people can take with a map guide dragging on. I'm going to make it a little darker so it's a little easier to see. And yeah, we're covering up some of our textures, we're covering up some of the things we've done, but we're also, if you can see this, we can see every tree, every hill, every little mountain, and we can go in and edit those to however we need or like, depending on what world we're making. Any of those naughty islands. We can also adjust the opacity of this layer. If we're really interested in the details of it, in the textures underneath it, we can go in and fix those, or make it blend so it's not so dark. Again, we wanted to create a type of making a map that it was really intuitive, and you didn't have to worry about weird settings or anything like that. All right, almost done here, folks. Yeah, hour and a half. We've done good, about exactly where we wanted to be. Only thing left now to do is kind of tidy up the oceans, adding a little bit more mass in some of these forests. Just like right here. See how you can see it get darker and darker and darker? And I'm just adding paint to it, just squirting it out. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a realistic fantasy map done in about an hour. Now all we have to do is add some markers, add some other things. I'm going to go in and I'm going to just finish this up by going in, taking my spray bottle here, wrapping it up to about 250. You know, we could probably go even higher than that. Let's go 450. Pressure up. We're just going to fill in around this so it looks neat, brings out the textures and stuff. Again, just with my airbrush, just having a grand old time. Got a campaign map. This will be up on Drive-Thru RPG sometime this week. $3. It's all, you know, it's all we're going to charge for it. Do it in about 4 different styles. Put some markers. Make it worth your time. Shameless plug. But hey, we're in business to provide for our families. And we're 3 weeks old, so that, you know. The darker areas, we'll just grab a blue and I don't like that blue. Let's go with this guy. A little too much green in that one that I originally did. Put some stuff here. Put some stuff here. Make it a little darker here and there. Now I'm going to go and grab my hard wet blend knife. Zip this guy up to about 250. And I'm going to start in the dark areas. I'm going to pull into the island. It's kind of hard. Let me get in there so you can see exactly what it's doing. You can see it is slowly blending that in so it looks natural. just scraping away from that into the picture. See that? Up there? That's what we want. Just drawing from the dark to the light, pushing that dark up into that light area. And that light's a little too light, so we're going to come in and we are going to adjust that a little. Add some blue in there. Not that blue. That blue sucks. Maybe some blue like this, just so it defines the area. Just really light, just having fun with the airbrush. Then we'll go back to our, see? Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming to our broadcast today. I'm Dan. We'll be broadcasting Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and Friday 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Be doing some maps. Also look out on our website for reviews, products we're offering. We're going to be doing some modeling with ZBrush, some miniatures, a bunch of other stuff like that. This is one of the miniatures we just got done, 3D printed. Yay! Have some fun with that, share some more content. We're also going to be working towards getting our role-playing game out in a while. We've got some work to do. But in the meantime, use our game aids, use our stuff for your campaigns, make the world your own. Have a great day, and God bless you.